So this tutorial is an updated version of a previous tutorial, and in this part I'll try to build a complete solution to add comments to Gatsby blog. This is not specific to Gatsby. This can be used for Next.js or any React app. There will be slight modification, but not too much, since it is happening on client side. Most of the logic would remain same. So instead of using a solution like Discuss, I wrote about it in the past, but at that time I did not realize, because of ad blockers, that Discuss throws some nasty ads, and I'm trying to build a commenting system for Gatsby ground up. So let's see how it goes. So I'm starting out with some boilerplate code already. So what I've done is defined a comment type, which I'm going to render over here, and I'm expecting comment to have an ID, a slug. Slug would be something like this one, which will identify for which particular post comment has been made and the comment itself. So I'm using Firebase emulator for this. So this is Firestore, and I have some comments already stored here. So the slug is like blog Gatsby, blah, 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 and some comment on that. This comment section is going to be the main component, which will have a list of comments, and then it would have way to log in and the way to add any comment, any additional. So whenever a user adds any comment, it would start showing up here in the blog post. So if you look at the comment, I have boilerplate here as well. So what I'm expecting is, in the props, I'm going to pass a method get comments, which will fetch the comments from Firestore, which is this place. And once I have that, I'm going to populate that as comments, iterate over here and put it off. So first thing that I do is include this comments, and once I refresh this, you would see that this comments has appeared from this one. So next thing what I'm going to do is say that, okay, I'm going to pass get comments method, and this comments, which I have not defined yet, but I'm expecting it to be in this subcomponent or child component. And so next step, what I'm going to do is I need to initialize Firebase. So this get apps is a method from Firebase, and to initialize connection with Firebase, or I'll get this configuration. So this is Firebase configuration, although in this particular case it would be talking to Firebase emulator, but when you deploy to production, it would talk to some production Firebase. So this initializes Firebase, and then I'm getting a hold of Firestore, which is this particular thing. And next step, what I'm doing is I'm checking if it's a development environment. Instead of talking to the production Firebase, I'm going to connect to the local Firebase emulator, which is running on port 8080. So this does that job, and then this is just some boilerplate code when React app loads. If we already have initialized this thing, we will have apps already populated. So this takes care of not reinitializing and just adding back this reference. So this reference was here. Next thing, what I'm expecting is this comment section to have a slug. This slug would be passed from, so I'm including comment section here in post. So this is my postcom component, and I'm passing a comment section with slug, which I get from the post itself. So next step, once I have the slug, I create to state a state variable comments where when I get the comments from Firebase, I want to store it in state, and then I'm going to write a function and get comments that I'm going to pass it here. And this function basically queries. This is a Firebase method or Firestore method. And what I'm saying is that from the collection blog post, which is this one, fetch wherever the slug equals to whatever slug has been passed. So for example, here, if it is, the slug will be passed as Gatsby tutorial responsive YouTube embed. So whenever you find an entry with that, pull that one. And once we have this, I get a snapshot. So you would have this get docs will get the snapshot of the collection. And then what I'm doing is I go over the snapshot, iterate over each item. And if you notice here, this one has something like comment as one attribute, other one slug, and this dot data would function will return these two items here, and ID I would fetch from here. So this is for the key component or key attribute that React generally requires, and I'm expecting it to be of type comment right here. So if you look at this comment, next step, I set it in the state, and once I save this and go back here, right now it is not being rendered because I'm not doing anything here. So I'll create a UL and then iterate over each of the comments here, and this is the ID that I was talking about, and this ID would become the key and whatever is the comment that I want to render here. And that's about it. So there is no business logic as such here. And next step would be this will still not render because I need to get the comments. So in the use effect, so when the component gets loaded, and this get comments is something that I'm going to call, and I'll save this. So if you see here, what it has done is it got the comments from the emulator. So the read job is done. In the next section, what we are going to do is authenticate it against Firebase using Firebase Auth. So once you log into Firebase console, you have this authentication. And for demo purpose, I'm not going to do the registration bit as of now, but what I'm doing is adding users here, which you can log in. So you can read up on this on Firebase authentication. So what I'm going to do here is sign with this one is actually password authentication is what we'll look into. So we need to basically get reference to the auth and then invoke once we have the authorization email and password, we are going to write this up and wire this up in our Gatsby. So to do that, we'll go back to this one, and again, so we do this bit of the same thing like here. We get auth and then on auth chain. So this is where this kicks in whenever user is authorized. So whenever user gets authorized, we are going to set it in the state variable, and I have created this login page, and right now it just has login. So if I save this, you'll see. Okay, so this is not getting rendered right now because I will like still include it here. But what I'm going to do here is get the reference of this auth. I'm going to pass this auth to the component, and what I'm to capture email and password, I'm using state, and we have this. I'm writing this Firebase method in React where I'm going to use the same sign in with email and password what we have here, and we'll capture the email and password. For that we are going to set up the form, and what I'm saying is on submit invoke this method, and first we say okay, what is the email, and we set the email as in when user types, and then password also. So and give a submit button. So that's about it. Next thing, we'll have to update here to include the login. Before I start writing anything about login, I'm also writing another component that allows user to sign out. This is quite basic. So we are passing auth and set user from the parent component, which is comment section here. And Firebase has this method, Firebase auth has this method called sign out. And what I'm saying here is once the user has signed out, just set the user as null. And in this one, now what I can do is include how to the login component. So if I save this right now, it doesn't render because I'm already logged in. Otherwise, it would have asked for login method. And so let me add sign out. So I'm also including this sign out component over here. When I save this, so you'll see this logout button. So what is happening is that because the user is already logged in and it has this user in the state, this button gets rendered. If I click this logout now, you will see the login option come up here. So once I logged out, you will see this, and so I'm going to use the user here. So one of these users, I hope I remember the password. So if you see, I'm logged in now. So both the components are working fine now. Login is working, logout is also working. Let me log out, and so I'm trying to log in with another user. I don't know if it works. Yeah, it works. Okay, and so if you, I have not handled any exceptions, etc. So that needs to be extended. Probably some later point of time, I'll do that. So in the last section, what we are going to do is create a component to add comment, and adding the logic to add component in Firestore. We are going to write it here. So first thing, I am adding a component called add comment, and to that I'm going to pass a method called add component, add comment. And the way we add comment is we get the hold of Firestore, and then we say that create a new document in the collection called blog posts. It's the same one like this here, and what I'm expecting this particular add comment component to do is pass the actual comment that needs to be persisted here, so this bit, and we'll get to like how it renders and works. So now I'll go to the add comment comp. So in add comp, I have just added a boilerplate code here. So we need a state variable, and from the props we need this particular method which allows us to add comment into Firestore. So so this add comment method we are getting from the props, and then we add a state variable that allows us to store the user comment, and on change of text. So we add a text area where user can type the comment, and on click of this, what we say is invoke this function, and we just give a button, complete this button. So that's pretty much what we need here. And so I think if I save this file, we should. So I think there was a typo here. I renamed this file as comments, comments to comment. So now if you see, I have this text area that's in this one, add comment component. So this will be my third comment. Now right now I have not taken care of after effects of once you have added the comment. I have to add some extra logic that it re-renders the comment once it is persisted to Firebase. But you can see that it has added this comment here for this particular blog post. So to give you a sense of it. So if I refresh, this new item should appear here, third comment. So third comment is here. Oh, and I add this. So if I refresh this, probably I added, okay, one time only. And if you see here, somewhere, yeah, fourth is added. So this is more or less everything that I had to cover in this one. There are some shortcomings. For example, who posted the comment, and when we are creating the user, we may want to have things like username or some sort of first name, last name kind of a thing which identifies the user. So that will be in the next one.